Stay cool. This is a Thor News presentation. Thor News presents... Okay, honestly, I don't even know what to say anymore. Uh-oh, they're coming to get me. Stop that man from talking about Venus.
Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.
Hydras. Humanoid, hydras. Humanoid. This is not a death ray. Cameras or different type of sensors. Hydras.
We have a global monetary system that is backed by perpetual wars. Everybody knows Wall Street runs politics and the media in our pseudo-free market economic system. Sex sells is a Newtonian law. So,
let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.
Ladies and gentlemen, I interrupt my own broadcast to report on the shitstorm that is Shirtstorm, the new wave of divide and conquer, which is women against men, and once again, the point that I make, that if you want an end to inequality, you have to end all wars. That is where 90% of all the problems in the world stem from.
Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.
Shoot it out for long-range motion, and it deploys legs. It looks almost like Star Wars. When it lands, it absorbs the shock and starts walking. What you see over here, this yellow thing, this is not a death ray. This is just to show you that if you have cameras or different type of sensors, you can see over obstacles and bushes and those kind of things. Not a death ray. Cameras or different type of sensors.
Knowing how calculating and careful and protective the space agencies are about releasing any type of information in any way, they had to know ahead of time the uproar this shirt would cause. Which means this whole little kabuki song and dance theater, and as the man who wore the shirt said, I love it when a plan comes together. And so forgive me for not taking seriously if hundreds of female scientists are deeply offended and wounded by a shirt that a scientist wore, the ESA Comet Philea landing thingy, at a time where we live in a country that happens to be causing more collateral damage in more countries than any other country in the world. And you're telling me the science program that helps and supports all those drone strikes, the same science that uses robots that don't wait for the whites of their eyes to kill people, in a strange war that started in 2001, where America stopped going to war with countries and started going to war with criminal gangs and religions. So I'm having a hard time here.
I'm here to talk about very real killer robots, autonomous combat drones. Now, I'm not referring to Predator and Reaper drones, which have a human making targeting decisions. I'm talking about fully autonomous robotic weapons that make lethal decisions about human beings all on their own. There's actually a technical term for this, lethal autonomy. Now, lethally autonomous killer robots would take many forms, flying, driving, or just lying in wait. And actually, they're very quickly becoming a reality.
Ironically, we can still see traces of some of those early homesteads which fell victim to a lack of technology. Today, many of us have no idea where our food comes from, have no idea how or where our electricity and gas arrive, have no idea where our drinking water comes from. We only see the last step, the supermarket, the switch, the knob, the faucet. But the actual source of energy to run our industrial world remains a vast, mysterious system which somehow seems to work, but which many of us don't really understand. For so many fundamental needs, we depend upon things beyond ourselves, things over which we seem to have no control. Yet on an individual level, though there is little we can do to repair or maintain the systems which are so important to us, there is much we can do to deal with the particular dangers our technological world may hold.
We must ban the deployment and development of killer robots. Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war. Autocratic governments and criminal organizations undoubtedly will, but let's not join them. Autonomous robotic weapons would concentrate too much power in too few unseen hands, and that would be corrosive to representative government. Let's make sure, for democracies at least, killer robots remain fiction. Thank you. Thank you.
The Comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko Rosetta, the European Space Agency, flying a satellite to a comet and then firing a robot at it and having the robot land on the comet. Storytale has been interrupted by a scientist who wore a shirt that offended some people, it hurt others, and then it deeply wounded many more. Shitstorm, the new wave of divide and conquer.
Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.
You know, at times where the normal working folk feel that scientists are in an ivory tower totally disconnected from the rest of humanity, this is probably one of those times.
Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.
So I'm having a hard time here. You know, this was supposed to be the space agency's big night. NASA and ESA. They haven't done a lot of cool and interesting stuff in front of people's eyes since, you know, they put the Hubble up. So
it's a wheel-leg hybrid robot. So probably haven't seen anything like this out there. This is a very high mobility robot that we developed called Impasse. This robot is called Climber, cable-suspended limbed intelligent matching behavior robot. So I've been talking to a lot of NASA JPL scientists. JPL, they're famous for the Mars rovers. And the scientists, geologists, always tells me that the real interesting science, the science-rich sites, are always at the cliffs. But the current rovers cannot get there. So inspired by that, we want to build a robot that can climb unstructured cliff environment. So this is Climber. 5 years ago, I actually worked at NASA JPL during the summer as a faculty fellow. And they already had a six-legged robot called a lemur. So this is actually based on that. This robot is called Mars, Multi-Appendage Robotic System. Mars walks up to the computer, starts typing, "Hello, my name is Mars. Welcome to Romela." This robot is a amoeba robot. Now, we don't have enough time to go into technical details. We store potential energy to the elastic skin to make it move. We do something to something, and just like magic, it moves. The blob, right? This robot is actually a family of snake robots that we call Hydras, Hyper Degrees of Freedom Robotic Articulated Serpentine. This is a robot that can climb structures. Now, this robot is currently our star robot. We actually have a fan club for the robot Darwin. Dynamic anthropomorphic robot with intelligence. As you know, we're very interested in humanoid. This is not a death ray. Cameras or different type of sensors. Humanoid.
they flew the satellite, Rosetta. They launched that effort 10 years ago. You know? It took them 10 years to get to a comet that was, I think, at the time about as far away as Mars. Granted, it only took India 10 months to get about the same distance. This is totally different because, you know, you're chasing the comet. You're not chasing a planet. Planets are bigger. My point is, it took them 10 years to chase this comet down and land on it. So at the moment, the science has scored its touchdown home run, landing on a comet. So this moment is now being taken away because the women of science, who no doubt deal with a ton of Asperger's, a ton of socially awkward scientists, a ton of powerful war machine type guys saying and doing whatever the hell they please. You know, and the records show it. I'm sure there's mass inequality in science. And like most things that are combat, recon, spying based have always been male dominated. You know, it's like Game of Thrones. Who are the most powerful people at the moment? The Iron Bank. The Iron Bank is all male. So I've made this point before, that if you want an end to inequality, you have to end all wars. That is where 90% of all the problems in the world stem from.
Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.
Hydras, humanoid, 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 hydras, humanoid. This is not a death ray. Cameras or different type of sensors, hydras.
Touches you. He's there. All you do. So let's be clear. Let's be clear. No one needs to know. It's number one here. Let's be clear. No one needs to know. It's number one here.
Let's not succumb to the temptation to automate war.